we covered in our last gathering, I think, 6 principles, right? 6 principles of basically what we call 12 steps to lasting love, the 12 guidelines, spiritual guidelines to create a relationship that not in particular, and we're not speaking particular in a soulmate relationship, but any kind of partnership, of unity, of the, bonding of 2 individuals in whatever way. Of course, we cover also the relationship between a parent and a child, children to parents, partners in business, any kind of relationship that we actually want them to be long-lasting. And the important part is that what we are sharing today is basically guidelines throughout the Zohar and the Ari and the different writings of Kabbalah. We managed to bring together as the ideas, as the guidelines, but we all need to know that there is variance, there's all sorts of aspects to those principles that, we can study for a long time, and obviously relationship is something that we'll have to study throughout our life. So the 7th principle is probably, I'll take the risk by saying, that is the most challenging and the most difficult of all. And principle number 7 is no expectations, and no expectations and no demands and no requirements and no, what else? What else should we say? But the most important part is no expectations. Basically, what are we saying? One of the things that I think always bother us from within is how come the other person is not giving us as much as we give them. And I'm sure that if we're going to ask each one in this room, do you know what I'm saying by that? And everybody's going to say, yeah, of course. We have few people in our life like that, right? That we always feel why we don't give them as much, why they don't give us as much as we give them. And one of the most amazing things is that if they walk in, they're going to say exactly the same thing. And the most amazing thing that we see in relationship, and many times, when you sit with a couple, many times, all the things wrong that I could say about my partner, he says about me exactly the same things. Have you ever, faced a situation? How is it possible? I am not doing enough. You are not doing enough. I'm not caring enough. You're not caring enough. And when you break down all of those ideas, you actually see that the foundation of it is the same. The issue is the same. So we are normally put together with the individuals in our life in which we share the same type of tikkun, the same type of karma. Even more so if you're with your soulmate. Even more so if you're with a partner that really belongs on your path. So we know that the group of souls that come together actually belong with one another. We share tikkun, we share a karma. We share the purpose of our arrival into this universe, into this world. And therefore, the one important thing that we all need to understand, that the conditions that we put and the expectations that we put in a relationship is actually creating a limitation to allow this relationship to evolve to actually where it needs to be. And there is two aspects to it, meaning, the concept of unconditional love. Unconditional love. When you have unconditional love to the world, it's very easy. But when you need to have unconditional love to your parent, unconditional love to your neighbor, unconditional love to a concrete individual, then it's a lot more challenging, right? But to the world, not a problem. You love everyone, absolutely, we'll care, we'll share, we'll volunteer. But when it's one-to-one, it starts to press the tikkun. So the first thing that we must understand is that the condition for a relationship is that there will be a movement towards the light. There will be growth. There will be expansion. There will be growth of both individual and of the relationship as a system. But the conditions that we put and the list of expectations that we put is creating a limitation on the capacity of the relationship. And let's give you example. Meaning, when I say, for instance, I expect you to tell me everything that you feel. You know, in Kabbalah we learn it's basically a myth. You don't have to say everything. You need to say what contributes to the relationship. Now that doesn't mean that if you're cheating, right? This is not what I'm trying to say, right? We are actually trying to create a relationship that cheating is not going to be necessary, right? But what we actually need to understand is that when you're in a bad mood and you see things wrong and you basically come and you spill it all out, it does not mean that the relationship is going to become better because you let it all out. You need to go through the process of processing it, and maybe what you feel today you're not going to feel tomorrow, and maybe doing restriction is going to allow you to see why you feel the way that you feel. So when you come tomorrow and you say what you have to say, it has value, and it takes the relationship to its next level. So when you say, I expect you to help me, or when I think, what do you mean? We share the same space. How come I clean the table and you don't clean the table? If we share the same space, then we share the chores. Does it make sense? Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. This principle brings us to a place that we cannot expect it. We cannot expect it. If it comes, if the other person actually helps, great. But you need to come from a place that you don't expect it. Why not? Why not to expect it? What's the problem with expectations? Why you disappoint yourself? Why you get disappointed all the time? There's only one problem with expectations. You giving control to somebody else. You become their fact. Expectations, when you expect another person to behave a certain way, to be a certain way, to do certain things, you're sitting in the back seat and you hope you're being driven to the right place. So the basic thing that we need to understand that expectation is not some sort of a social, spiritual, highly elevated idea that only very, big Kabbalists could live. It's very practical. It's practical because when you expect, you give the power to another force, to an external being, for the direction of your own life. And there is a story I always like to say about, to share about this principle, because I remember a time, and it's quite funny, when I look back, it didn't feel that funny. But, I gave birth to my second daughter, and I was really, really ill, and we just, got this building, bought the center in LA, and it was under construction, and I remember I was maybe a week after giving birth, I have a little baby at home and another baby, and I'm running all around and I'm working full force after a week. And like the whole day I'm saying, please, that, if my husband comes home, I could actually, take a shower and maybe, fix around a little bit. And I'm like, for hours, like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And, 10 o'clock at night, the door opens. And he walks in and he says, oh my God, I have such a headache. Please help me. And I looked and I said, please help me? Please help me? I had a story, 8 pages long. Because in my head, I deserved it. And we're going to speak about I deserve in a second. I deserved it. I expected it. And what do you mean he has a headache? And don't you know how sick I am? And don't you know how tired I am? And who is la 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 la, the whole thing. But at that moment, I understood the seventh principle. That from this point on, there is no expectation. If you help, it's your choice. If you want to be sensitive, it's your choice. If you want to be caring, it's your choice. It was my choice to live this life. It was my choice to have these kids. It was my choice to work as hard as I work. If it's not my choice, then I change my choices. But if this is my choice, then I take responsibility for it. And if I take responsibility for it, then I change my entire environment. And the most amazing thing that happened, and I'm not saying that was the only thing, but through the decision and through the freedom that I experienced, it changed the dynamic of my relationship. It changed the ability for me to be in control and have the freedom. So the expectations for me was not an option, because I knew and I saw live that the moment I expect, I lose, I deplete myself from control. So the most important thing for us to understand, and this is, I hope, a helpful example, is that the moment that we expect and we have a list, and we all have hidden lists, if it's specific relationship or if it's our relationship with people in general, we expect people to be good, we expect people to be kind, we expect people to be truthful. Don't you know yourself? Sometimes we are not truthful. Sometimes we all lie. Sometimes we are all not kind. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. Yet we expect people to be that way. But if you know yourself well enough, those expectations are not fair. Those expectations are not realistic. So we set ourselves up for disappointment. So we set ourselves up to decreasing our experience of life. And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? You can't trust people. You can't rely on anyone. You can't, have true friends. Because of that expectations, you're actually closing your experience of life. So the whole idea behind it is not psychological. What the Kabbalists are basically telling us is that expectations is taking away your ability to be in charge, to be responsible, and take control over your life. The next principle that we want to speak about, and that's going to be principle number 8. No, I deserve. I deserve to hear. No, I deserve. And the concept of I deserve is a very tricky one. And as a matter of fact, the Rav is teaching us that all the source of sadness in life is coming from I deserve. All the source of anger in life comes from I deserve. And I deserve means, and it starts from thinking that I deserve a partner. I deserve a partner. What do you mean? Everybody has a partner. Right? Everybody has success. When I think of the words I deserve, we need to know that it's the root of sadness, of lack, of depression, of all the sources of negativity in a relationship. And this is why concept number 7 and as well as concept number 8 are very, very important in our own spiritual work before we even extend ourselves out to have a relationship. Meaning, when we say many of the things that bother us in relationship, you don't even ask me how I'm doing. What's behind this statement? I deserve to be asked how I'm doing. And now you want to ask the question, how did you, earn it? Why am I deserving to be asked how I'm doing? Let's think for a second. What makes me or what brings me to a place of the word deserve? What's the word deserve stands for? No creative process. No effort. When I say I deserve, I basically say, what do you mean? Do I actually need to work? So you could ask me how I'm doing? Isn't it so fundamental? When a person says, listen, it didn't even say hello to me. Who said he should say hello to you? He didn't even say thank you. Who said he should say thank you? Where is all these ground rules coming from? And the Rav is explaining to us that the concept of I deserve is so grounded with our desire to receive for oneself alone, that the only way that we could actually remove or start to conquer or take away from that desire to receive for oneself alone in a relationship is to check in everything that bothers us, in every aspect of communication, if there is an aspect of I deserve in what I say. In certain relationship in life, you can look at a relationship and say, I don't deserve a better teacher. This person is going to be my teacher. I feel I deserve someone stronger, more powerful, more connected. Is this, this is the woman that the light sends me? That's what I deserve? No, I feel like I deserve so much more, right? She must be so smart and so beautiful and so connected. What do you mean I deserve it? Why do I deserve it? Why I can't be with some schmate? Why I can't be with, some, ugly, stupid, miserable person? Why not? So I can engage in a proactive process of helping them change, teaching them. Why not? Because in my desire to receive oneself alone, I want only what? To receive. I just want to receive. What can I receive with someone ugly, stupid, and miserable? How much can I get from this? I can get a lot more. If I have a beautiful, smart, successful, and vibrant. Right? I can get so much more. So the whole concept of I deserve, the whole concept of our expectations, you understand that? It's so simple, but so tricky how Satan is like blinding us. So we don't see it. But the bottom line of it is the most selfish nature of desire that basically allows us to sit and say, feed me. Feed me through a relationship, through what you're supposed to do. What else can I get? What else can I get? Now, the worst part of it, again, is to understand that when you're in the place of I deserve, when in anything in a relationship, emanating from I deserve, that when you look at it, you say, did I earn it? Am I really investing as much as I can? Am I taking the responsibility to do the work? You know what the answer will always be? No. 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 We will always see a way that we could do more, that we could share more, that we really didn't earn it. At that moment, we will be able to see our own lack. And the magic behind it is that when you start to invest and you put yourself in a place of being creator, what comes with the creator? The light of the creator. What comes with it is energy. What comes with it is understanding and kindness and positive energy. And when you bring it in, then it changes the whole environment. The reason why we resist change is because it's imposed on us. But when we choose change, it's much easier to change. right? If you're forced to change, right? Let's say you were an individual, and you come and you say, you're not asking me how you're doing, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. What's your reaction? Whoa, 1 second. I don't know I want to do all of this. Where is the manual? Never got the manual. Meaning you want to be able to choose it. And now we need to go back to the endless world and ask the question, why did the vessel wanted to share when its nature was desire to receive? Why would the vessel want to share? And that's the only way that the Kabbalist actually can convince us to understand the concept of I deserve. Because if there was light, and the light wanted to give, and the nature of the light was sharing, and the nature of the vessel was just to receive, that's all the vessel knew how to do. The vessel only knew to get. There was no any aspect of desire to receive in that vessel. But what happened to that vessel? It received so much from the light that the flavor of sharing started to disseminate and come in with every fulfillment. So that nature of the light, which is a desire to share that was absolutely foreign to the energy of the vessel, transformed the vessel. Transformed the vessel. This concept is emanating from this idea that when you step away from your selfish desires, when you put yourself in the place of the endless light, just giving unconditionally to the other individual, that flavor of giving must transform the other person. Right? I've always give the example of you going out with someone, and this other person is always paying for you. In every situation, they pay for you, they take you shopping, they feed you. In a certain point, you're going to enjoy and enjoy and enjoy, but you're going to say, can I do something for you maybe? What's going to happen to you? You're going to start to feel like you want to have some of that pleasure. Imagine if we can adapt it in a relationship. And you're right about one thing. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not a transformation that you're going to say, listen, the whole week I've been really good. No, I deserve, really giving. You can't look back and count it. You can't say, listen, this is how much I did. It has to be a permanent state of mind. It has to be a permanent way of thinking. I think because of all the faces I see all around, I would allow maybe time for a few questions. Quickly. Please.
On expectations. So instead of expecting, we need to set standards, I guess. If I set a certain standard, I don't want a man who drinks, for example. I don't expect it of him, but I don't want a man in my life who drinks. That's my standard. That will be okay, right?
That will be okay?
Yeah, I simply don't want to have a...
And if your soulmate is an alcoholist, you prefer not to be with your soulmate, right? You prefer.
No, I don't deserve a soulmate. I deserve... What? So how do I make it a proactive thing? That's what I'm asking. I have certain standards. I don't want a man who will abuse me. I can't expect of him to be good to me, but I can set up my standards, right? And if my soulmate is an alcoholic,
I could never forget, we have one of the teachers in the center that grew up in a home that the father beat up the mother every single day. Every single day. 6 kids, so every single day the father beating up the mother to the point that one time she lost her consciousness. Okay? After maybe 15 years, they got divorced. The kids stayed with the mother. The father left the house and got married again. And had another 5 kids. And never, ever raised the hand again. Ever. You look at it and you say, how could it be? So now there is many, psychological explanations like this, sociological explanations like this, but there is also a spiritual explanation to this. That out of unity, out of harmony, negativity disappears. Light removes darkness. We mean it when we teach it in the classes. When we march with spiritual, supposedly, principles, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing windows, I'm not doing this, I'm not vacuuming, this is what I'm not doing. This is what I'm... The obvious is that you're creating a separation. You're stepping into a world of separation. You want to know that if your soulmate is addicted to whatever, but he's your soulmate, then transformation is going to come out of it. This is actually belongs to the place of no expectations. No expectations. Thinking I deserve more, if our consciousness is, yes, I deserve more and I deserve to be more connected to the light, great. But our I deserve means I want something for nothing. That won't work. You had another question?
Yeah, I do, about entitlement. So if there's something in my life that I really wanted and I don't have it, does that mean for sure I haven't gone through the process? Is that?
No, sometimes we want things we don't deserve. Sometimes we want things that it's not in our karma to have. And I think, I think we mentioned it last week, that not necessarily everything that exists with our potential we're going to fulfill, right? Second thing is not the things that we would hope to have in our potential we actually have. There is a lot of people in this world that invest a lot of time in business and they just don't have it. There are many people that invest in, research and never got the chance to find. So we need to know that not necessarily what we feel we deserve actually belongs to us. There's a lot of confusion that is emanating from that selfish desire to receive. But the I deserve and the entitlement represent the darkest spot of the desire to receive for oneself alone. Any other questions?
In a relationship, but in anyhow, even you said about to give, isn't that cause the other person something else, like Lechem Bizayon that we learned about it?
You mean bread of shame, yeah?
Yeah, not to appreciate, because we're giving him, we're actually not teaching them to give back, because they get so used to it. So isn't we doing something wrong also?
It's a very good question. Very, very good question. We should ask the same question about the light. The light constantly give us. The sun is shining every day. The trees are blooming. I mean, isn't it bread of shame? But something happens to us once we feel the light. We want to get closer to the light. Now, when we are in a relationship and we know that we are giving, then we should all know that we are not. Because the light doesn't say, oh my God, look how much I'm giving to them. I'm just giving and giving and giving and giving. Giving is a state of consciousness. When you at the end of the day stop and say, oh my God, look at how much I gave. Right? we celebrate Mother's Day. Can a mother look at herself and say, oh my God, I give so much to my kids? Every true mother is filled with guilt that she's not giving enough, that she's not there enough, that she's not caring enough, and she's probably the worst mother on earth. Why? Because when you truly give, you don't do any accounting for it. When you truly give, when you're in a state of fulfillment, then you know that you're truly giving. But when you are stopping in a certain point and saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm only giving in this relationship, then it's not truly giving. You give so you could get. So the only reason why you're giving is because you want something in return. And that's take you to, I deserve. So what we are doing is basically trying to fool the system by saying, okay, I'm going to change my consciousness. I'm going to come into my office, and the only thing that I'm going to do is just give to everyone. Gifts, bonuses, free time. Why do I do it? So they're going to work better. Why do I do it? So we can have better relationship. But if I walk into my office, and the reason why I share is because it's giving me an opportunity to transform myself, because I know this is my way to get closer to the light, because I know that's the only way to be, then I don't have to worry if they change or not. I don't need to worry if there is transformation or not. First of all, it would happen automatically, and I said not the next morning. But still, you can't be an accountant and say, are they changing? Because it shows that you're not changing your consciousness. But the second reason why it's going to change is because the light doesn't care how selfish we are. It still wants to give. That's all the light knows, is how to give. We can't find the reason not to give in the fact that the other person is selfish. It's his problem. I always say to the students, people that are, doing philanthropic work, right? And all day long people are knocking on the door, hi, can I have, hi, can I have, hi, can I have? You should be so lucky to be taken advantage of. You should be so lucky that people come to you to ask, because it means that you have what to give. So the moment that you come to the understanding that it's the giving that fulfills me, it's not what I'm going to get, it's not the formula of what's in it for me. I'm going to give, but what's in it for me? Eventually it's going to work. Start to be nourished from that. So the reason why a person comes to a point in which he gives and the other person takes advantage of him is because that's where his consciousness is. Nobody can take advantage of me if I choose to give. If I wake up in the morning and say, please everyone, take advantage of me. Right? Because then they don't take advantage of you. They don't. Then you use your resources, your connection, your energy, your conviction, your power, and everything to give. People pull when you don't want to give. Okay. So we are moving to the next concept. And the next concept is seeing myself as the cause. Seeing myself as the cause. I know it sounds the same, but not exactly the same. Meaning, taking responsibility means that in every situation, I'm going to take the position of being the cause. Meaning, let's take an example. There is a disagreement. There is a disagreement between two partners. You said you're going to work from 8 to 10. We signed the contract, right? And instead of you coming from 10 to 12, you go back and you say, excuse me, but you signed the contract. This principle says that even though we signed the contract, you agreed, I agreed, you didn't show up, it's my fault. My responsibility. I take a stand in a relationship that I am the cause for chaos unconditionally. Now, we already spoke about the benefits of it, right? You already understand the benefit. The benefit is that if you're the cause, then you can change it. Right? We always speak in the classes about the importance of forgiveness, right? And I think Kabbalistically it's very important and we don't mention it enough. Why forgiveness is so important? Right? We say, why is it important to forgive? What's so deep spiritually with the concept of forgiveness? Forgiveness is the only thing that takes you back to a place of being a cause. Meaning, when I'm insulted, when I'm hurt by your behavior, when you said something that was wrong, and I can't bring myself to a place that I forgive, I will always be an effect. You did it to me. You hurt my feelings. The whole idea of forgiveness is that from being an effect, I turn into being a cause. I now can give you forgiveness. These principles of seeing myself as a cause in a relationship means that I must always be in a place that I'm willing to change, that I'm willing to take responsibility, and that I know that I have the capacity and the ability to turn things around with knowledge, with wisdom, with energy. The responsibility that I take is not for the minutiae. The responsibility that I take is for that to happen. You know, all the nonsense, all the small stuff. This one did this and you did that. And you don't necessarily have to say, oh, this happened, it's my fault. It's not my fault, it's my responsibility. If I created a space in which things like this can happen, then I can take responsibility for it and I can change it and I can turn it around. You know, one of the most amazing things that in the beginning of my, marriage, I ran to Karen, my teacher, and I say, Karen, this is it. He says I'm this and he says I'm that. I can't handle it anymore. And, Karen has to go and talk to him and show him because he did all this thing wrong. And I had all the right evidence. And I was absolutely right. And Karen told me, I have an amazing idea for you. Tonight, you're going to take a piece of paper and a pen. And you're going to sit down. And you're going to be quiet for an hour. And the only thing that you are going to do is to say, please tell me everything that is wrong with me. I was like, what? Everything that is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with me. He did this and this and this. I said, listen to me. You take a piece of paper, go home, and that's what you do. This was, again, a moment of transformation for me. And it's something that you need to know, that probably on a weekly basis I need to do. And not only with my husband, but in many relationships. That when something happens, and you start to build a file about the other person, you can build this file, right? You know what I mean by building the file, right? He did this, boom. He did this, boom. He did this. 2 weeks go by and the file is this big. And you collected all this evidence and you did not fight for 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, pulling out the file and you're starting one document after the other. Tuesday, 4 o'clock, Wednesday, 9 a.m., right? One by one. We need to know that that file began the moment I stopped taking responsibility. We started the file once I stepped out. I stopped looking myself as the cause. The most amazing thing was and is for me to see that when someone, and if it's here at the center or with my family, anywhere, start to bother me so much and I could see every little thing that is wrong with them, then I know that I did something wrong. But how could it be? Because we know that in that space comes separation. The moment that we stop investing and putting in energy and building and seeing myself as the one that is actually wanting and choosing this, creates a disconnect. The way to close it is not by saying what's wrong and sitting and waiting for the other person to change. So, you change? So can I take one out of the file? It's not going to happen. You're again in the passenger seat. But if you really go back to the seat level and say, 1 second, what is it here that I need to change? What's missing? And you know what you hear when you ask the question? Is all of those things that you put on the file, in the file for the other person. How is it possible? It's possible because we are the cause. Because relationship was designed in this world to help us change. If an individual is put alone on an island, he will never change. He will adapt, but he will never change. When you look at the centers around the world, I think always the Rav and Keren created so much magic. When we have, a chevre, a staff member that is in a center alone, the center is always good. But when there is 2 teachers in a center, the more they fight, the more successful the center is. The bigger the staff is, the more opportunities there is to be with each other, the greater and more effect that center is. Why? Because change takes place through relationship. When you're alone, when it's you'll never see what's wrong with you. You'll never see what you need to change. The service that is given to us by the people around us is to constantly to show us what's pressing my buttons, what's truly bothering me, what's difficult for me to do, what's my challenge. And through that challenge, there is growth and transformation. The 10th principle. The 10th principle, which at least I know that Keren mentions many times, is the idea that the connection between 2 people should never be on the basis of completion. Meaning, the reason why we are together is because we each bring to the plate something that the other cannot. Right? So I have creative abilities, and I'm going to bring a partner that can invest in the business. He's not creative, but he has money. One of the principles, and this idea, coming to teach us that this partnership cannot work. Logically, brilliant. I could do whatever I want. He's going to invest. He's going to, do the marketing. And the only thing that I could do is sit and design T-shirts. Can't work. In a relationship, right? I like to sit home. I will nurture the family. I will take care of the kids. Right? And he's going to go work, provide the intellectual stimulation. One has the heart, one has the intellect. Can't work. Can't work. It can work when our connection is not based on fulfilling each other's lacks. Now, in the very simple level, you can already understand that fulfilling each other's lacks would immediately tie us to what? Expectations, I deserve, right? You automatically in a place in which I cannot provide what you can provide. So if I'm the creative and you are the financial support, then you bring to the plate something that I cannot bring. So what do? I sit back and expect you to, to make it happen. It's taking away from my ability to be a cause, to take responsibility. So the one thing that we need to understand is that you could never be in a place that the other person is going to take over that which you cannot do. It cannot be your teacher. It cannot be your teacher. There's a huge difference between having a friend and having a teacher. In the code of Jewish law, it says that when you have a big brother, right, a sister, a mother, a parent, a teacher, walks into the room, you need to rise for them. And the reason why you need to rise is because you always want to be in a place that you can receive. Always to lower yourself, always to be in a place that you can receive from them. But the amazing lesson that we need to know is that we can receive from everyone a relationship, or what we call in Kabbalah relationship, is on the basis of inspiration and motivation. Meaning that out of this union does not come, it's not like a glass of water that is being filled, but comes an energy, comes a union that brings me to a place that I'm inspired to do. I'm motivated to change. All the connection is in that basis. It's not on a connection on a basis of you'll give me something and fulfill my need, or my void, or my lack. You're going to inspire me to go forward and fulfill my void, lack, and need. On my own, not coming from you. Now, the benefit of this consciousness and the place in which it should put us in is that we know that the reason why the relationship is happening is to help each other change. It's to help each other grow. You cannot help another person grow if you do the work for them. If you do the work for them, then you replace their growth with solutions. We are not to provide with solutions. We are not to replace the growth. We are to stimulate that growth. And therefore, many times, when we have the question that was asked before about giving, it's not giving. It's providing solutions. It's taking care of the needs of the other individual that they came into this world to learn or to change. So if I am a creative being, I not only came into this world to be creative, I also came into this world to learn how to communicate my gift. I also came into this world, if this is my gift, to know what to do with it. If the way that you communicate with your partner is to come and say, listen, I have this gift of creativity, now you deal with it. You market it. You put it out there. I have an idea, you deal with it. You'll invest in it. Then where is it that you're taking responsibility for your creativity? If I am a genius and I can be a Beethoven, and the whole day long I'm going to be closed in a room and I'm like a genius, oh my God, I'm a Beethoven, I must find the way that most creative people, by the way, don't have, is to find the avenue to make an impactful change on other people's lives so they would want to hear my music. So the correction of the creative person is not in the gift that he has. The gift is a given. You came into this world with it. The tikkun is communicating it. So if a person has tremendous wealth and abundance and millions of dollars and he's not creative, the only thing that he has is his millions. The only thing he can do is come and invest. The millions, that's a gift. You'll never say you earned it, right? The question is, how are you going to use it in a creative way? So we need to know that when we take away from the other person the opportunity to develop their tikkun, to invest in their tikkun, then we are taking away from the actual value of the relationship. Principle 11. It's called what we call Berachel Bitcha Ktana. Meaning, when Jacob, invested the years on working with his father-in-law for his, daughter Rachel, he came the first time and says, listen, I really want to marry your daughter Rachel. And his father-in-law says, okay, you're going to work for me for 7 years and you're going to have her. And after 7 years, not only that he didn't get Rachel, right, he got Leah, her sister. In the second round, he comes to his father-in-law and he says, I'm going to work 7 more years for your daughter, for Rachel, for the younger daughter. Meaning, there was only one left. One he married. He could have said, I'm going to work another 7 years for Rachel. Jacob came with a very specific definition of what he's working for. If you notice in relationship, you walk in and you say, I don't feel appreciated. Don't feel appreciated. I don't feel this can work. Right? What does it mean I don't feel? I want to feel fulfilled. What does it mean to feel fulfilled? What does it mean? The question that you're really asking is what's going to make you feel fulfilled? The question is when you feel not appreciated, what makes you not feel appreciated? The problems that we have many times emanate from the fact that we don't use wisdom. And I'm not speaking now about analyzing. I'm speaking now about knowing. The same way that we said in the beginning that you can't trust your emotions to choose someone, right? Because today you feel and tomorrow you don't feel. Because now you feel a connection and later you won't. In the same way, we need to understand that in order for us to progress, we need a plan. When you want to open a business, do you do a business plan? Yes? When you want to develop a relationship, you do a business plan. For most people, they look at a relationship and we say, okay, we're engaged, we're married, we are partners, we signed the papers, that's it. All that is left for us is now get the job done. No. You need to know that when you sign the papers and now you're partners, you're just starting a journey of developing your relationship. This is where the relationship is, and this is where it's going. And this is what I need to do in order to get there. You know, the most amazing thing, and I think I mentioned it many times, is that, you know, when there is a conflict between two people, right? There is a fight. You didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and there is a fight, and there is a separation, and we're not talking for 3 days. You really believe that all the things that bother you and all the things in the list at the end of the 3 days are going to be okay? You truly believe that all these things that bother you and the other person is going to say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. You think the correction is gone? No. So one of the most important things for us to understand is that there is a plan. There is a program. There is a program. There is a master plan. And therefore, what we want to be able to do is to constantly say, how is it connected to the reason of why we were put together? What do I want to achieve by what I say? Where can we go with this challenge? How is this giving us an opportunity to get closer to the light? How can I have a chance through this challenge to bring out more my tikkun, to get over my selfishness, instead of reacting to the way that I feel? So the one most important thing for us to know is that every issue and every situation has 7 years attached to it. There is a plan attached to it. It's part of a program. It's part of a manual. There is a DNA to it. It's not an issue that you're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, we're going. You're going to say, I'm sorry another 3 months from now for the same thing. You don't know this about relationship. The issues that you have today, you didn't have when you were 7. Why, when you were 7, you were very, your self-esteem was amazing, only today it's an issue? No, it wasn't there when you were 7 too. We all have handicaps. We need a plan. We need to know this is a long-term plan. And then you need to know what is it that you want to accomplish through this connection, through this union, through this argument even, through this, romantic evening, through this business. What's the objective in terms of the quality and the value of the relationship? I'm going to allow time for questions in a second. And the last principle, which is the 12th step. We basically, as I always say, we keep it above the waistline. But there is, in principle 12, there is an important concept that has to do with the physical fulfillment should always be a result and not a cause. And what we mean by that is not only on a sexual basis. Meaning, relationship always have 1% and 99%. Every relationship. Every relationship. Every relationship is involved with something physical. Right? There is nothing that stays in the 99%. Oh my God, I have a relationship with someone that I never see and never talk to in Zimbabwe. Right? I see you, I talk to you, I touch you, I get from you, I give to you. 1% is always involved. And especially when there is a romantic connection and there is also a sexual relationship, the same idea. The same idea. We need to know that the physical connection, and we said it in a way before, how much time we spend, how do we spend our time, what do we do? We need to know that we never feel love in the finger. Right? The finger doesn't feel love. Right? There is no fulfillment through the hand. The fulfillment comes from completely a different place. Fulfillment comes through consciousness. If the fulfillment in the 99% is not going to be there, you can have sex all day long and stay empty. And many people know it because that's all they do. They have more and more and more and more sex. And they are less and less and less and less fulfilled. So the same way we need to know that the connection between two people cannot be based and cannot be a cause, of saying, and we mentioned it before, we hardly see each other, or we don't speak anymore. The 1% must be there. There has to be 1%. As long as the 1% is an effect and not a cause. It's not the reason. When it's the reason, you are doomed because you'll be lacking all the time. You'll always feel that something is missing. And there is also a gift in it, because a connection, a physical connection, is actually a power of union that can bring, and has with it duality, meaning when it's a cause, it's very low. What's in effect, it's very high. Meaning, the 1%, when it serves in a relationship as a cause, then it leaves you empty. It takes you down. You feel depleted. But when it serves as an effect, as a result of spiritual work, as a result of a union, is a result of mutual spiritual goal, then this physical connection is taking you out of this world. Then it takes you to the next world. Then this physical unity, this physical union, this gift that you get, this agreement that you have, whatever it is that you do, then it's beyond anything else. Most people, first they sign the contract and they hope they're going to become friends. Kabbalah teaches you, first you become friend and then you sign the contract. First you work in the relationship, then you know you can sign the contract. Because most of us say, why should I invest if I don't know if ever anything's going to come out of it? Nothing is going to come out of it, even if they sign the contract. So with this, we are actually concluding our 12 steps. And the one thing that I would like to say is that if you would just go into this list and maybe place it someplace around you and choose every week just to work on one step, it will change all the rest of the 11. One step, and deciding that that's going to be my focus either for the day or for the week, you will see, would elevate all the rest of the steps. And why is that? Because any change that we do is raising our consciousness to a new place. Now, please, if you have any urgent questions, please. One second, we need the microphone because otherwise they don't hear it in your Kabbalah.
When two couples or just business partner or any relationship with somebody is coming to an end, is a conflict supposed to be there to bring it to an end? It's supposed to be an end to it, or relationship's supposed to go on and on? I mean, when we know that that's it, it's not, I'm not supposed to be there anymore.
You know, there is an amazing section in the Zohar. And again, I mention it often because it relates to so many different things, that speaks about the fact that you live a relationship only in its best. Conflict is not good enough of a reason to live a relationship. Why? Because growth usually takes place when there is a conflict. Now, it doesn't mean that you must stay in this relationship for the rest of your life. Actually, one of the precepts of the Torah is to divorce. But you're allowed to leave this relationship when you learn the lesson. When it doesn't bother you anymore. When it doesn't bring into your life anger, resentment, disappointment. But when you stayed, you learned, you got the message, and you're ready to move on. Okay, thank you.